So, we have another episode of this, what I like to call comment section, and I have an interesting one for you here, at least at the beginning, because we all know Threads is the most toxic place on earth, and there's a couple of close ones that are fighting for each other, whether it's Reddit or Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And we got to look at the hypocrisy of how some of the dating things go and some of the ladies' thought process when it comes to just how they think. The hate for men in America is so, so bad. And it's got lopsided to the point where only one side can have preferences and I'm talking about they can squeeze those preferences down into the smallest minute thing. And I think we're seeing the spillover now because it's almost unanimous that it like whether it's a good post or bad post, some parts of the gender war is gonna reach each post, and we're gonna have some type of discourse in the post on for seemingly nothing, right? Now, me personally, some of these things I feel like they might sit in their room and be like, yo, well, how can I get the most rage bait out of the world today? How can I add to the agenda for the people that take this stuff seriously? Every now and then when I get on threads, if I get a certain inkling of anger, I say, you know what? I'm gonna do something else. But this was 10 hours ago. They posted this. They said, I'm 5'11 and had a 6'4 dude on the dating app go, God, you're beautiful, but you're too tall. I'm still 5 inches shorter than you, but go off. So I guess initially, you don't think that that's a bad thing. That's a normal reaction. Like, hey, then they say, let me add. The issue isn't the height preference, it's the audacity to match with someone who isn't your preference and send that message. It would be like me going to a 5'5" man and saying, damn, you're hot but too short. Silly? No. I would say I get where she's coming from, you know. So that's not a crazy, you know, conclusion to it. So some of the anguish ain't necessarily towards the OP, but a matter of fact, let's look at some of the responses to her second statement. It is silly. That's what y'all do all the time. Laugh my ass off. Doesn't feel good, does it? And I think that is very true when it comes to the ladies, is that their their preferences has become very, very, very nuanced. And, you know, recently I had posted this on my social medias. The girl said a guy wanting a hug is too sassy for her. Like, how dare you come home from work and want a hug from your lady? And that sounds, completely, lacking masculinity. But yeah. Next person said, yeah, he could have went about it completely differently. He should have at any rate. He should have at any rate, whatever. And I don't know, for me, you don't necessarily know his tone when you doing these things through, text message. It's not something that you can readily verify from that. So I don't know. I think they might be reaching. Yeah, he was just wasting your time, but women do that as well. Talk to you, then say, you too short, even though Shorty be shorter than you by at least 6 inches. Pause. And I mean, I never had problems with height, so I don't really know that firsthand, but I'm a strong believer that it's more of an internet thing than a real life thing. But yeah. So this is just a replies to that. Now let's go back to how some of the other ladies have taken taken this post and turned it into some diabolical things, right? This person have no idea, no idea. Just their synopsis, right? He's lying about his height. He's one of those guys who like tiny girls because they remind him of little girls. So you see, you see where this has become way to the left, right? And sometimes when you see certain screen names, it screams out bot. Because sometimes the super inflammatory comments, and then you don't have a picture or you don't have a screen name that makes sense. I my tin hat starts tingling, and I think like, all right, this doesn't sound right, and it's a little bit too inflammatory. It could be controlled chaos that Facebook and Threads is adding to the world for whatever reason. Who knows? It is what it is. That's just my theory on it. Oh, oh, okay. So this is a dude. So this is even more so. You have the quirky uh the quirky screen name, and you have a very inflammatory statement that screams bot or control operative. If you ask me, he wants a petite girl so he can fantasize about her being a child. Now, and this is the author, this exactly. So they're making absolute statements on something that they do not know about. It could literally be preference. But we're coming to the conclusion that with no context of anything, but word of mouth that this person wants to be with a child. Now we all can agree that they are jumping off the roof with this thing. That's the tall girl problem. At 5'11", if you want a man your height or taller, your pool is already smaller. I get that. The math makes sense. At a degree, a high-powered career, and wanting similar education, ambition, and status, and it shrinks again. That is true. That is true. Then some men prefer short women too. Nothing wrong with having standards, but the more boxes you require, the fewer options you have. And for a little more insight, oh, absolutely. Well aware of that fact as a woman in her 30s with some average standards. You don't have average standards if you're co-signing that this guy wants to be with children just because he prefers shorter women. That's not average standards. If you ask me, you have super liberal standards. You have a super liberal thought process because any type of grounded person would just chalk it up to the game and keep it moving. Bet ya he was actually 5'10" and only dates girls he thinks won't know the difference. Yeah, like if these are the things that the ladies are believing, then they are beyond cooked because a lot of them would rather go with what they think men think than to even listen to what we say. That's enough of this one. Let's see what else we got going on. WNBA threads, you gotta love these. This person says, I am actually glad she did this, and it was caught on camera. I hope she remembers the same thing that makes you laugh can make you cry. The thing with Angel is she genuinely has a good heart. Angel is blessed and highly favored. She'll be okay. Every time her enemies speak down on her, she is blessed again and again. It's what drives y'all crazy the most about her for real. I think I'm not really hip on this situation personally, but I know one thing about Angel Reese is that she doesn't do enough on the basketball court to shut the haters up. And unlike Caitlin Clark, every time I see her, she balling. So if you was on the court, cooking, like couldn't nobody say anything. But because you're a lot more talk than you are game, you're gonna come, you're gonna have these problems when it's more about your social status than it is your basketball game. And for me, I haven't talked about the WNBA so much since Caitlin Clark got there, and I think Angel Reese had a great run at LSU, I believe she was at. And I mean, to be honest, I would much rather watch women's college basketball than I would the WNBA. It's a little bit too brawly for my liking to see women playing like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I think they have a more of an image problem because it's just not something I would rather see over. I mean, even something like women's volleyball or something like that. It's just not. If you can't get the men into watching the sport, then you're cooked because women are not going to watch it in the same levels. They're going to be watching baddies and the Kardashians and stuff like that. Let's see. Biblically, a wife is a responsibility. That is absolutely true. So it says a responsibility that is so worth it with the right woman. I think when it comes to biblically, we can't really have these conversations with probably 90% of women. And a lot of us men are lacking when it comes to certain biblical aspects. But women are definitely far further behind than we are. Um, Gamers over 30, what's your current comfort game? Let's see. As a gamer myself, my comfort game is probably still Arc Raiders. I am very, very deeply entwined in that game since it came out, and sometimes I get mad at myself because I have a lot of other games that I could indulge in, but I still find myself saying, "Hey, I need one more Bastion cells or whatever, and I think I need 5 Bombardier Janks because I just did my second expedition, so you know how they reset. But that is probably my comfort game. I'm interested to see the responses for this one. I've honestly been having trouble enjoying any game lately. I'm pretty sad about it. I think I think I ran into that problem until Arc Raiders came out, where I was okay with competitiveness. So I could play Call of Duty, Warzone. That kind of dried up for me though. And then Battlefield came out, and I was on that heavy. I'm always a Madden and the 2K player because I love sports, but Battlefield 6 came out, and I was on that. It was finally a game that could take me away from Spark and Zero because I'm such a big Dragon Ball fan, and I clocked a lot of hours into Spark and Zero, and it was a great experience. Even though sort of like what Ark is going through now, that YouTubers and the community is kind of slowly dragging the game into the abyss, at least as far as Arc Raiders. Because I feel like a lot of the updates that Arc have done lately has absolutely cured some of the problems I had, at least as far as the rats and the being able to go loot without the threat of somebody shooting. I didn't mind it. It's not a problem for me, but it is if if you're in one of those lobbies where everybody shoots, it becomes a little bit nerve-wracking when sometimes you just want to relax on the couch and go get some springs and some metal parts and some of those little leaves you need to make the herbal bandages and stuff. But the problem this person is having is that we're in this era of gaming where everything is kind of the same. Now, what's the real difference between Assassin's Creed and Horizon Zero Dawn and Ghost of Tsushima and Spider-Man and I mean Crimson Desert. I mean even Elden Ring to a degree, they all have the same concept, just implemented differently, especially like the Assassin's Creed games where you have main quest, side missions, and little dumb stuff you can do around. And all you do is take that model and then place a Spider-Man on top of it. You can place a 007 on top of it. You can place a bunch of different ways to implement that process. So now we're getting to the point as longtime gamers. It's like, wow, I'm having a hard time finding something that grabs me and makes me want to play. And I think that's was the allure to like Arc Raiders and some of these other games is that kind of went against the grain with their thought process, and that's the reason why they was having success because there's a bunch of extraction shooters, but the way Arc did it was captivating, and I think games have a hard time of being, captivating like they used to. And then certain games need to come to the realization that they need to drop the price and maybe take a couple years off to develop new ideas. Because I think the sports titles could literally take a 3-year break and just do some updates. This person says getting dressed to go to dinner is my favorite thing to do. Well, that's great. That's great. See, sometimes now to me, this is a seemingly innocent post. Cool. Nothing, no hate on the shorty for doing this, right? She didn't say nothing wrong. Let's see what the comments had to say. You know you're bad when ugly men hating in the comments. Definitely not Murray. So that's a woman commenting on that. So that's the first level of hate that I've seen. It's coming from a woman. Let's see. Queen the Black Barbie. Y'all trying to shame the men, but unfortunately they're not wrong this time. Her surgeons need his license revoked immediately. Um, I don't know. I know that thing heavy with the Denzel. Anyone else thinks it's sitting too low? I mean, it doesn't look too crazy to me. I think, like I said, I'm gonna keep it where it is. I don't think it's a bad photo or a bad post. Uh-oh. Let's see what Jabbar got to say about this. Reading the comments show a prime example that y'all women hype each other up and ridicules actually get these ridicules, BBLs that clearly look disproportionate to your frame for each other. Then have the nerve to call us ugly for telling y'all that it's ugly. Why? We have been telling y'all we don't like it. Call me ugly and I'll call you insecure. Pretty face, by the way. Yeah. I think, like I said, this is one of those posts where I didn't have no quarrels with it. I wouldn't have never posted anything. And I don't think, from my opinion, I don't think that if she did get some work done, I don't think it's like too crazy. Even though if she did, I don't think she should have got it. But, to each his own. Eminem was the biggest scam in hip hop history. Y'all gotta let this white man go. Y'all willing to die on this hill that Eminem is some insane rapper when he's actually just white. Now, overrated, absolutely. Dope, absolutely. The hardest thing to deal with when it comes to Eminem is the absolutely insane amount of weird middle-aged white dudes that want to fight about his place in the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. His fans make him undigestible. Now, when it comes to, top fives and when it comes to even in sports, hip hop, who's the greatest? LeBron, Jordan, Kobe, Shaq, Wilt, Magic. When it comes to hip hop, you still got the Biggie and Pac people. You got the Nas's and the Jay-Z's. You got the Kendrick, the Drake, the J. Cole's of this era. I think where the conversation starts to fall flat is when it kind of goes outside the realm of the barbershop talk, where I'm giving you personal attacks because of your choice of your top five, not my top five, not they top five. How can I give you but so much crap about what you like? I got Cameron in my top five. Most people not gonna have him in their top five, but it's about my top five, what he done for me as an artist, right? So I think when it comes to Eminem and I have to be real, Gen Z and younger millennials, they're the biggest haters I ever seen on God's green earth, right? And some of it's not even real. Some of it is like I'm just gonna be a contrarian type hate. And I mean, it's just a part of the game at this point. Sometimes you got to know who to talk to, who not to talk to, whether they're worth your time, whether it's going to be like, an informative conversation. But I think when you look at somebody like Eminem or the recent like Jay-Z hate, like won't nobody just listening to Jay-Z and stuff like that. As a brother that's a 80s baby and grew up in the 90s, they are tripping when it comes to how popular and how much people listen to him was. And same thing for Eminem. I think Eminem was the white boy that put himself in that echelon with the Biggies and the Pacs and the rest of them. So, albeit, I'll agree. I don't know, me and my friends, we did listen to Eminem, but it wasn't like Nas or when Mobb Deep dropped or oh man, when the Blueprint dropped, the first Blueprint dropped, man, that was crazy. And then when he dropped the Blueprint 2, that was even crazier. So for us, it wasn't like when those albums drop or Stillmatic or anything like that dropped, but it was um it was a part of our listening ear. Maybe not my brother was a little older and maybe he didn't really get into it like that, but I think I think this is very true. Y'all dumbasses need to stop stop talking music for real. And I don't think there's enough respect when it comes to these artists because that's where some of us get that disconnect from when we start talking these things with some of these Gen Zs is that y'all don't give no respect to these people that came before y'all. And we're seeing it not just in rap, but we're seeing it throughout all different types of entertainment and sports that y'all not paying homage. I think the only thing that they can't really talk about is probably football. I don't hear a lot of hate on football because we understand that football in the 90s was 5 times tougher than what the sport we're seeing today. So you can talk all you want about Patrick Mahomes and the numbers he threw, but would he be able to do that in the 90s? I don't know. I don't know. I think I think when you're a talent like that, I think you absolutely could you're gonna be good. It's no doubt in my mind. But would you be able to do some of the things you do now in the 90s, 80s, or 70s football? And I think that's why, you don't hear a lot of pushback when you start talking Lawrence Taylor as the greatest or Barry or some of these people, it's really, really no debating how good they was in an era that was more gruesome. This person says, "Ah, yes, the rapper with the most record sales of all time in rap. The 10th most of any artist ever was a scam." Some of this is, especially with my brothers, some of it's some race things with it, where you used to hear the thing with Lord Jamar, he's a guest in hip hop's house and stuff. That's all that's all nonsensical. Um, well, we're approaching 30 minutes, and that's crazy. I was only able to get maybe two or three scrolls down because I go into my rants or whatever. But we will do another episode of this comment section because, like I say, the comment section is always going to show you what the people thinking and whether they're drinking the Kool-Aid. And we see they are. They are totally drinking the Kool-Aid, and this is the stuff we have to realize and realize the bots. We can't allow the bots to mess up, our moods and our thought process and affect our mental health because that's what it's designed to do. Some of these, like I said, some of these threads or posts I read and it galvanizes the bad thoughts and gets me upset. I say, yeah, let me just turn this stuff off because I didn't open up this app to feel upset about something I cannot control. So this has been another episode of the comment section. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.